Tonight on Reporting Scotland, work on new buildings for the NHS is paused. Plans for new hospitals and surgeries, like a replacement for this health centre in Kincardine, are put on hold over budget pressures.
Just very disappointed. When you're told something's going to be happening and it doesn't look like it will do for a long time. But everyone's been talking about the new health centre.
Also on tonight's programme, a dad's tribute to his murdered daughter.
Typical storybook daddy's girl, happy, positive.
Claire Levesque from Canada was found dead in Shetland earlier this month. Police shoot dead an out-of-control bulldog-type dog in East Kilbride as 3 people are injured. The trophy, which was lost for almost 90 years, is brought home to the Highlands.
Coming up in the sport, 3 Scots are named in Team GB for the World Athletics Indoor Championships, and we hear from boxer Josh Taylor ahead of his highly anticipated rematch against Jack Catterall.
Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Monday's programme. Think of the impact a dozen new hospital and health facilities could have on tackling some of the challenges facing our NHS. Well, these big building projects have been in the planning for years as health boards look to clear waiting lists and meet growing demand in the future. But now, BBC Scotland News has learned the Scottish Government has called an immediate halt to all new NHS construction for up to 2 years. They say financial pressures on health and social care are by far the worst since devolution. Ministers say a revised plan will be unveiled in the spring. Our health correspondent Lisa Summers has more.
It was a day of celebration last year when the First Minister opened this hospital in Inverness, purpose-built to help clear NHS waiting lists.
Here we go, I'm delighted. It's officially open. National Treatment Centre, Highland. There we go.
But budget constraints have now put the brakes on another long-awaited project on the other side of the Highlands. In Fort William, a new local hospital is long overdue. Construction for a replacement for the Belford Hospital should have started next year.
60 years old, falling apart, costs a lot to maintain. We're campaigning for a new hospital now for over 30 years. We are very, very close to a conclusion. So we're making a plea to NHS Highland to continue the work in the next 6 months. It will then be shovel-ready as soon as capital is available.
As well as the new building in Fort William and a national treatment centre in Aberdeen, plans to upgrade Caithness General Hospital in Wick and Dr Gray's in Elgin are also on hold. In central Scotland, there's uncertainty around a replacement hospital for Monklands, Edinburgh Cancer Centre and a new eye pavilion. And at least 4 other national treatment centres are also affected. These facilities are part of the big picture to increase capacity in the NHS, but local communities with growing populations are also affected. This health centre in Kincardine is 100 years old. In 2016, NHS Fife deemed it not fit for purpose and set out plans to build a new one.
How can they say that after all these years of trying to get a new health centre that we can no longer have it, and yet it's still condemned? That's a ridiculous state of affairs.
Just very disappointed. When you're told something's going to be happening and it doesn't look like it will do for a long time. But everyone's been talking about the new health centre and how difficult it is for the staff here.
Population at the moment is about 3,500 using this same health centre. If the Scottish Government's not got the funding available, well, they're going to have to find the funding.
Well, Lisa's here now. Lisa, people are clearly angry. What is the Scottish Government saying?
Well, the Scottish Government blames Westminster. It says the UK Government failed to inflation-proof its capital budget. It does say that it will review the situation in the spring. However, we've obtained a letter that was written by Richard McCallum. He's the Health and Social Care Finance Director for the Scottish Government, and he wrote to health boards in December outlining the financial challenges that lie ahead. And in it, he instructs boards to immediately stop any project that they had planned to go ahead because the Scottish Government doesn't anticipate starting any construction for the next 2 years at least. Instead, he says the money should be diverted to maintenance backlog for the existing estate.
And Lisa, this is about buildings, but it's not just about buildings, is it? Because it goes to the very heart of some of the big challenges facing the NHS.
Yeah, I mean, local people, as you can see, are aggrieved. They're not getting the facilities that they were anticipating. But actually, it's about the enormous challenges that the NHS is facing. National treatment centres were very much seen as the way of increasing capacity to deal not just with the backlog that exists now, but actually about planning for the future. And it's unclear where this leaves them. So I think what we're seeing is a very clear example of difficult choices that are already being made about what the NHS can and cannot afford.
OK, Lisa, thank you. The father of a woman killed in Shetland just over a week ago has spoken of his loss and his need for justice. 24-year-old Claire Levesque, who was brought up in Canada, travelled to the islands late last year with her boyfriend. Now he's been charged with her murder. Speaking from his home in Canada, Clint Levesque, Claire's dad, has remembered her as a happy, positive person. From Shetland, John Johnson reports.
Typical storybook daddy's girl, happy, positive, and just so friendly to everybody she's met in life, and there's nothing negative anybody could possibly say about her. Her picture describes her.
Clint Levesque fondly remembers his daughter Claire and her love of adventure.
This is terrible. Like there's no words to describe this whole situation. I just want justice.
Claire, pictured here with her brother William, grew up in Westlock, Alberta, in Canada.
Aaron Pearson, I was her boyfriend, and Aaron Pearson and Claire got together in Alberta, boyfriend and girlfriend.
24-year-old Claire Levesque was found dead at this house in Sanus on the west side of the islands 8 days ago. Less than half a mile away, a badly damaged car was pulled from the sea. Her boyfriend, Aaron Pearson, was charged with her murder at Lerwick Sheriff Court last Thursday. Clint says he's trying to focus on his daughter's memory.
Being happy and doing things that she loved doing, and being with people. And
the tragic loss of such a young life has left a family in Canada in mourning and a community in Shetland in shock. Amidst the sorrow, Clint Levesque is hoping for justice.
My daughter texts me every night, "Good night, Dad. I love you," every night of our life.
As investigations continue, communities on both sides of the Atlantic wait for answers. John Johnston, reporting Scotland, Shetland.
To some of the day's other stories now. A complaint by Brewdog about a BBC documentary that highlighted allegations of inappropriate behaviour against its chief executive has been rejected by the broadcasting watchdog Ofcom. The beer giant claimed it was treated unfairly, along with its CEO James Watt, by a disclosure programme, The Truth About Brewdog. The company also claimed the documentary infringed Mr Watt's right to privacy. But in its written decision, Ofcom said facts were not presented, disregarded or omitted by the documentary in a way that was unfair. The UK Home Secretary James Cleverly has urged the Scottish Government to rapidly increase asylum accommodation, suggesting some could stay on a cruise ship in Edinburgh. The Scottish Government said the country had consistently played its part in supporting asylum dispersal and was offering sanctuary to more than double the displaced Ukrainians per head of population than any other part of the UK. Last summer, the leader of Edinburgh City Council warned plans to use the MS Victoria in Leith to house asylum seekers could turn it into a floating prison. Medics who served on the front line of the Ukraine war have brought one of their damaged ambulances to Edinburgh. They want to demonstrate the conditions they're working under. So far, almost 200 of their medical colleagues have been killed. This weekend marks the second anniversary of the full-scale invasion by Russian forces. The Ukrainians say it's important for Scots to know how much their support matters. An 18-year-old woman will be reported to the Procurator Fiscal after an XL bully-type dog injured 3 people and another dog in East Kilbride. Police shot dead what they described as a dangerously out-of-control bulldog-type dog. Well, Katrina Renton is in the South Lanarkshire Town Forest tonight. Katrina, what more do we know about this incident?
Well, Laura, police were called here to the Mannering area of East Kilbride yesterday morning to reports that a collie dog had been attacked by another dog, a large bulldog type dog. In a statement, Police Scotland said that local officers attempted to restrain the dog, which was dangerously out of control. Now, they said armed officers subsequently attended and the dog was shot dead by police. Now, officers said 3 people reported receiving minor injuries during this incident, and inquiries are ongoing to establish the breed of the dog. Now, police said an 18-year-old woman will be reported to the Procurator Fiscal in connection with offences relating to the Dangerous Dog Act.
And Katrina, people might remember there was a similar incident last month.
That's right. This is the second attack of this nature in recent weeks. 2 people were attacked by a large bulldog-type dog in Hamilton in January. It was also shot dead by police. Now, this week, restrictions on XL bully dogs come into force here in Scotland. From Friday, amongst the new rules, the dogs must be muzzled and on a lead. It will be illegal to sell, advertise, give as a gift or exchange such dogs. Now, this is in response to what the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, has described as a flow of dogs into Scotland after restrictions were imposed in England and Wales. However, it will not be an offence in Scotland to own an XL bully without an exemption certificate until the 31st of July this year. That's 6 months after it became an offence in England and Wales. Laura.
OK, Katrina in East Kilbride, thank you. Now, the future of Scotland's offshore energy industry has become the focus of a growing political battle. All the major parties have said they want to protect jobs and prosperity in the North East, but they disagree on how to balance green energy with the oil and gas industry. Here's our political correspondent, David Henderson.
Aberdeen's often called Europe's energy capital, but for many firms based here, planning for the future is hard. This company gives advice on everything from gas pipelines to wind farms, and it needs whoever's in government to provide clarity and support. But is that on offer?
The UK has the largest offshore wind sector in the world. Yeah, it also has a massive oil and gas offshore sector. Businesses built those sectors, not government money, but business. Yeah, and business needs that stable fiscal regime to make those investments.
The UK's committed to cutting greenhouse gas emissions and shifting towards new energy sources like wind power and hydrogen. But in Aberdeen today, Humza Yousaf accused the Conservatives and Labour of wasting the chance to put Scotland in the lead of a green energy revolution.
What everybody absolutely agrees on is Scotland has a huge economic potential in unleashing that green revolution. And what we can't do is have it squandered, as we are currently seeing squandered by a Conservative government and going to be squandered by a potential future incoming Labour government.
Humza Yousaf's political opponents are not impressed with that and accuse him of masquerading as a friend of the North East.
We've heard breathtaking hypocrisy from Humza Yousaf today. We know that he was against the Rosebank field being approved. We know that the SNP were the first party to be calling for a windfall tax. And of course, Humza Yousaf himself said that Greens in government were worth their weight in gold.
In recent weeks, Labour has scrapped its multi-billion-pound plans to fund the move away from oil and gas. Their new focus, a windfall tax on the profits of big energy firms.
People's energy bills have skyrocketed. They're 60% higher than they were 2 years ago. Oil and gas companies are making £33 billion in profit. Just one company last week announced a profit that was a tenfold increase in one single year. I think it's perfectly reasonable to say on those excess profits that we do a windfall tax and we use that to invest in the transition and bring people's bills down.
But that plan isn't going down well with some business groups in the North East, which warn it could put thousands of jobs at risk. This argument's hotting up as an election looms.
Well, we can talk to David now. Let's talk about that general election coming up. We don't know when it is yet, but just how key an issue is this going to be?
It's bound to be important, Laura. They say that all politics is local. That's very much the case with this, even though energy is a global business. And that's because there are so many jobs and so much prosperity and livelihoods at stake right here in Scotland. Now, huge changes are coming down the line, tough choices too about what sort of energy mix we will see across the UK, and whether Scotland can continue to play a dominant role in providing that. There are already clear political dividing lines emerging here, and key among them is just how fast the transition should be from traditional sources of energy like oil and gas towards greener forms, newer forms of energy like wind power and hydrogen, and linked to that, just how much taxpayer support should be provided to make that happen through either tax cuts or direct investment. And what we're seeing here is a growing argument about which industries and what kind of businesses deserve that support and which ones do not. And that's bound to be an important issue, especially in the coming years when the public finances may be quite tight. Laura.
And we will be talking a lot more about this, I'm sure, in the coming months as well. But for the moment, thank you very much, David Henderson. Now, it has been missing for almost 90 years, but a trophy from a Highland Games in Moray has now been returned after being found hundreds of miles away. The Cabrach picnic and Highland Games stopped in the 1930s as the area saw a decline in its population. Chris McLennan has been to find out more.
This was the moment pipes and drums returned to Cabrach in 2022 for the first time in almost 90 years. The village's annual picnic and Highland Games were revived after a dwindling population in the 1930s seen it stop. But since then, the event has been without its main prize. Until now.
It was passed down to my father, Charles Ronald Taylor, on the death of my grandfather. He kept it as a prized possession. And then in his later years, in the late 90s, he handed it to me for safekeeping, and it's been with me since then.
Now repatriated after travelling more than 600 miles from Devon, the trophy will once again be awarded to the top competitor at the Cabrach Games.
I can't quite believe it. I think the very fact that we started this search last year and now we are here today and we have that Rose Ball back in hand, it's just quite an incredible story. It's an incredible story of generosity, of human spirit, and certainly from our point of view, I mean, that's going to set pride of place in the Cabrach now, and we're going to protect it ferociously.
It's hoped the return of the Rose Bowl will put the gathering on the Highland Games map again.
The games returning here and the trophy returning is nothing short of remarkable. This will bring people back into the Cabrach, whether it is for one day of the year. The people will come here and they'll certainly be back here to see that trophy presented.
And with the emotional homecoming of the trophy, it's hoped its tale may draw on the heartstrings of others to return to the area.
I feel that it should be on display somewhere in a museum or whatever in this area of the world where it originated. And I'm making good my promise to bring it back. And this is its spiritual home.
Chris McLennan, reporting Scotland, Cabrach.
And dressed for the occasion is our very own Amy Arons with the sport. Not talking the Highland Games, but athletics first.
Yes. The countdown is on, Laura. Yeah. Another big global event coming to Glasgow. The countdown is on for it. Thanks very much. Good evening. 3 Scots have been named in the Great Britain and Northern Ireland squad for the forthcoming World Athletics Indoor Championships in Glasgow. Laura Muir and Gemma Reekie will run in the women's 3,000 metres and 800 metres respectively at the event being held at the Emirates Arena early next month, while Josh Kerr, he will race in the men's 3,000 metres. It's the first time Scotland has hosted the World Indoor Championships, and the athletes will be competing on a newly laid track. Glasgow Life's Billy Garrett is the joint chair of the local organising committee and is looking forward to the World 1,500 metre champion Josh Kerr and the other stars all performing in front of a home crowd.
We couldn't be more pleased that Josh has chosen to join his colleagues in taking part in this upcoming World Championships, to join an elite field from all over the world coming to Glasgow. Couldn't be more exciting for athletics fans, and that'll be broadcast all over the world. So another coup for Scotland, another coup for Glasgow, building on that fantastic background and track record we have in this country and in this city of hosting global major international sporting events.
Well, what better way for Laura Muir and Gemma Reekie to clinch their places in the World Championship squad than by winning at the weekend? Dundee's Hawkhill's Muir hung back until the last 400 metres and then blitzed the field in the final laps to win the UK indoor 3,000 metre title in Birmingham, while 25-year-old Reekie, representing Gulbarkin Athletics Club, set a championship record to win the 800 metres UK title in 1 minute 58.24 seconds.
Yes, surreal competing at global championships in Scotland. We've never had that before on the track, so literally once in a lifetime opportunity to do that. I didn't want to miss it. It fits in my plans for Paris, so yeah, it's just very, very exciting to be there and yeah, to be out there competing in front of home crowd.
And I'm definitely going out there to try and perform really well and get one of those medals and hopefully get a gold. So yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Yes, I think we all are excited for that. Well, to boxing now, and careers will be on the line when Josh Taylor faces Jack Catterall in their highly anticipated rematch, according to fight promoter Eddie Hearn. 2 years on from their controversial first bout, the two fighters came, yes, face-to-face today in Edinburgh to promote their rematch in Leeds on the 27th of April. It was, yes, a lively event, and there for us was our reporter Andy Burke.
A great turnout in central Edinburgh today for the hometown boy Josh Taylor, ahead of one of the most hotly anticipated rematches in recent years against Jack Catterall.
A great turnout, you know, they tried a trick today, you know, putting it on at 1 p.m. when everyone's at work, and tomorrow we're down there conveniently it's at 5:30 when everyone's finished work. So yeah, they're trying the wee tricks and stuff, but great turnout today and the folk have turned out, so thank you to everyone that turned out.
Well, what's plainly evident from today is the animosity that's built up between these two fighters over the past 2 years has not subsided one bit, and we can expect fireworks in Leeds on April 27th.
You know, I'm nice and relaxed and chilled out. You know, it's him is the one who's riled up. You know, he tried to put his hands on my throat again. I went to throw a left hook, but I think Eddie copped it on his arm.
For Jack Catterall, this represents a chance for redemption, believing by rights he should have won the first fight against Taylor and become undisputed world champion.
It's all right for people to say, forget about it, and you know what, to an extent I have. It's part of my boxing career, it's part of my life. I'm quite content in my life, and I've had 2 fights since then. I moved on, I'm in a good place, it must be the same for Josh day in, day out. When's the rematch happening? When's the rematch happening? To my trainers, to my family members, he'll be getting the same. So I think for both of us now, it's a time where we can go, you know what, we're having a rematch and it's getting put to bed.
Careers are on the line in this fight. You lose this fight, you're done. Josh Taylor loses his fight, he'll never fight again. Jack Catterall loses this fight, he can't. What's he going to do? He's nowhere near a world title.
It's not world title belts on the line for Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall on April 27th, but so much more. Andy Burke, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
To the Premiership, and Rangers are now playing as a collective rather than as islands, according to manager Philippe Clement, as the Ibrox side moved 2 points clear of Celtic at the top of the league. 3 goals secured 3 points for Rangers against St Johnstone in Perth yesterday. Mohamed Diamondi with his first goal for the club before captain James Tavernier converted 2 VAR-awarded penalties. The fans that we spoke to today think the next few weeks are pivotal when it comes to the title race.
I think for sure the Hearts and Kilmarnock, that'll be our 2 toughest games. Just psychologically, I think if we get through them, the pressure that'll put on Celtic, I think that's it, to be honest.
We're back where we belong, and I think we'll stay there, and I'm confident we'll win the league.
Kilmarnock and Hearts are the 2 tests. Once we get past that, I'm all for it.
Clement's been a great job. Wee bit surprised where we are because I wasn't expecting it.
I definitely think we can win the league this year, no bother. Maybe even get the treble, we never know, you know.
Confidence there. And remember Michael Beale, Laura, Rangers former manager? Well,
it's not good news.
He has been sacked from Sunderland after just 12 games in charge. So if you thought 10 months in charge at Rangers was short, 12 months, yeah, that's even shorter.
Yeah, it's not really an accolade MD wants, is it? OK, thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
Well, now let's go over to the 9, where Laura and Hope will hear from Citizens Advice.
Rent, mortgages, council tax, energy bills, and even things like food. In actual fact, a lot of people are struggling to even afford the basic essentials that they need for day-to-day living, which is then causing them either to get into arrears with their rent and council tax, or using their credit cards to pay bills, which is then obviously leading to further worries and significant impacts.
View on the 9 on the BBC Scotland channel later. Now let's take a look at the weather with Gillian. Now that's a sight for sore eyes.
Isn't it a beauty? We've had some lovely bright and sunny spells a wee bit earlier today, and then we've seen clouds steadily increasing, some rain moving in this evening. I have to say it's pretty unsettled over the next few days. Good evening to you. Yes, we steadily lost that sunshine to increasing amounts of cloud, and it's ahead of a weather front which is bringing rain through this evening and overnight. In fact, through this week we'll have a series of frontal systems bringing bands of rain, heavy at times, and then into Thursday and Friday, you can see some colder air settling in, bringing an increasing risk of wintry showers. For this evening, there's that first rain band trundling eastwards, followed by a drier spell, a few clear spells for southern and eastern Scotland, but generally a fair bit of cloud, and more rain following into the northern and western Isles and the northwest Highlands through the early hours. Some of that will be on the heavy side. Winds picking up as well. It will become blustery, not terribly cold. Temperatures 7 or 8 Celsius for most of us. So tomorrow morning, that rain band works its way southeastwards across the country, and then behind it, as we head into the afternoon, skies brightening, there will be some sunny spells along with a scattering of showers. So this is a snapshot around about 3 o'clock, and you can see some sunshine for the Northern Isles along with a few showers. Generally for eastern, central, southern Scotland, there will be some decent bright and sunny spells tomorrow. Still a few showers coming in on the brisk southwesterly breeze, the winds fresh to strong, and the main focus of those showers will be over the Western Isles, the northwest Highlands and Argyll, where they'll merge to give some longer spells of rain. They will be heavy at times. They'll turn wintry over the hills later in the day, and there could be some hail in the mix and perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. Now into tomorrow evening, and it turns dry with clearing skies for a time. Doesn't last long though, because increasing cloud through the early hours will bring further rain, and again this will be persistent and heavy as we start the day on Wednesday. That trundles away northeastwards. Behind that we'll see some bright and sunny spells along with a scattering of showers. Again, a risk of wintriness later in the day, and it will be blustery with gales in the north and northwest. And by Thursday we're all in that colder air, risk of wintry showers in the west, but some sunshine. That's the forecast.
Yeah. Enjoy the sun if you see it.
Yes, indeed.
Even for a short time. Thanks, Gillian. OK, now tonight's main news again. Plans to build new hospitals, surgeries and a network of treatment centres here have been put on hold. At least a dozen NHS construction projects across Scotland have been delayed or paused for up to 2 years as a result of budget pressures. And an 18-year-old woman will be reported to the Procurator Fiscal after an XL bully-type dog injured 3 people and another dog in East Kilbride. Police shot dead what they described as a dangerously out-of-control bulldog-type dog. And that is Reporting Scotland. I'll have your late news around 10:30. Until then, from everyone here, enjoy your evening. Good night.